Hello and welcome to this webinar on the Master of Creative Writing and the Graduate Diploma in Creative Writing. I'm Jane Messer, Associate Professor Jane Messer, and I'm the Program Director for the Master of Creative Writing, and I welcome you. So some of the key benefits that you have with doing our Master of Creative Writing is that you have choice of studying online or at the campus. So we are here in North Ryde with our own train station, with good bus and car parking available. But in fact, most of our students study externally, and they're living all over Australia in regional places, in cities, or sometimes they're just very busy people, as so many of us are, living in Sydney, in fact. We even sometimes have Australians living overseas studying externally, and we do a lot of work to support our online students, and we have an excellent online environment to offer. We also have the flexibility of offering you part-time or full-time options, and students sometimes move between full-time and part-time study, and sometimes increase their part-time study load, for instance, if they've managed to create more time in their lives, or have a session where they want to study 2 or 3 units. But in fact, most of our postgraduate students are studying part-time and at a minimum of 1 unit a session. Of course, you have access to professional teachers who are all published and publishing writers, such as myself. And our teachers, we have a range of specialisations. We publish in the area of narrative, novel writing, short story, personal essay, memoir, poetry, creative non-fiction. And so you're being taught by people who are working in the field now, publishing, who have really strong connections with industry. And I think that's really important for all of our teaching staff to be professionally located. And of course, the really important benefit is that you get to pursue your passion for writing in a really supportive environment. Yes, it is university study, but what we pride ourselves on offering is a sense of community. You build up a sense of community with the other students, your peers, and of course with the teachers that are working with you, often over a period of years, which really enables us to kind of get to know you as developing writers, and for you to get to know us as your teachers and lecturers. So who, what and why? Just some important things is that quite a few of our Masters and Graduate Diploma students come to us with prior postgraduate studies that are relevant, or with relevant professional experience from their work. And so we'll be looking at your application, or you can ask us directly whether you're eligible for recognition of prior learning. And so it's possible, depending on your background, to have up to 16 credit points credited, which is approximately 30% of the degree. Who is the program suitable for? If you're an emerging or an aspiring writer, you're definitely the kind of person we're looking for. A lot of our students, when they apply, have a very early and emergent writing practice, or in fact might be more established. They might have published a few things in journals, or won some competitions, or indeed some of our writers have in fact published a book, but want to really develop their skills much more deeply and be challenged far more. We also have teachers who, particularly secondary teachers of English studies, who are trying to teach creative writing to their students, but want the opportunity to explore creative writing themselves for personal reasons, but also to become better teachers. And we also have people working more generally in arts and media industries who want to hone their craft as writers across a range of genres. And in the program, because we teach a range of genres, you will be able to not just focus on poetry or on narrative, but really learn to stretch your skills, get out of comfort zones that you might have, and the program's ideal for that. The workload really can be challenging, as any university study is, and so we strongly recommend that students think about putting aside time on a weekly basis during each session, and the university recommends that you estimate multiplying the credit points by 3. So one of our units of study is 4 credit points. So each week you would multiply that, as a rough guess, by 3. So you'd expect to be doing about 12 hours work. So some weeks it'll be less than that, and other weeks it might be more than that. But you can see that across the 15 weeks of a session, some of those weeks are mid-session break, some of them are examination weeks, or what are called examination weeks. There will be fluctuations, but university study does require dedicated time. Postgraduate students have complex and demanding lives. Often they have serious employment commitments and family commitments, and we try and support that as much as we can. Even still, there is a lot of work involved, but it's exciting, it's enjoyable, and generally students welcome it thoroughly. So in the core units and assessment slide, we have the core units of the program listed. I'm just going to talk a little bit of detail in 2 of them. We start the program with creative writing seminars 1 and 2, so they're in the first and second sessions. And these 2 units really are your core units, where we start to build shared vocabularies and shared understanding of key techniques and writing strategies. And by the end of those 2 core units, all the students will understand the kind of technologies and vocabularies that we want to use, so we can all understand each other when we're talking about characterization, when we're talking about time management, focalization, and so on. And we use those vocabularies throughout the other units. In those 2 core units, we range across a number of genres. You dip your toes in writing for young adults, with poetry, narrative, short story, and so on. Then it's in the other units that you can start to specialise and to go more deeply into different topics. And there is a wide range of elective units available. So along with the core units, you can explore, for instance, in the elective units, writing young adult fiction, along with the children's literature units, or many students enjoy doing the editing and publishing units that the Department of Linguistics offers. And this is a really excellent professional complement to the writing units that you'll be doing. Assessment is very much based on your creative writing. So most of the units that you'll study are focusing on creative writing. That will be the bulk of the work that you'll be doing. So at the end of every semester, unless you're a poet, you will have written many, many thousands of creative words through your own major assignments and writing exercises and so on. But as well as that form of assessment, we also look to discussing books that we're reading, short stories that we're reading, poetry, works about narrative studies, and so some of the assessments also based on the quality of your discussions and the quality of your workshopping with other students. Every week you'll be doing writing workshops either in the class or online with your student peers, and learning to reflect and edit and critique each other's work and in that way learning to edit and critique your own work as an independent writer. This kind of learning really lends itself to developing your career options. So graduates from this creative writing program have used the skills they've developed to launch new careers or to consolidate a career that they already have underway in arts, media, education and training sectors. So our graduates have gone on to be creative writers who have published books, published in journals, working in television and film, a various array of industries, to have also gone on to work in book publishing as editors and PR people, to upskill themselves in policy and corporate sectors, and certainly in the secondary teaching area, the creative writing masters has been incredibly beneficial. There's some stories on the Macquarie website about a number of our graduates, and I'd invite you to have a look at those profiles. I'd just like to say a few words about the Graduate Diploma of Children's Literature. So if you're studying that diploma, you're in the same classes as the master's students. What the Graduate Diploma offers is just a shorter degree. You don't do the capstone unit, and you've got fewer elective units to complete. Anybody doing the Graduate Diploma can, however, if they want to go on to the Masters, get credit for the Graduate Diploma that they've undertaken and translate fairly seamlessly to the Masters if they so wish. By the same token, if you're doing the Masters program but you want to exit early, as long as you've finished the Graduate Diploma units, you can exit early with a Graduate Diploma from the Masters program. The application process is fairly straightforward. There's two elements for the Masters of Creative Writing and the Graduate Diploma. You apply through UAC, submitting all the normal documents that UAC requires, such as copies of your past university studies. But you also contact us for information about the creative portfolio, because all the people who apply for the program will have been writing confidently or in a very emerging way, and so we ask for a creative portfolio. So please email me and I will send you information about what we want from that creative portfolio. It's not a overwhelming corpus of material that we want, but about 20 pages of your poetry or your short stories or your creative non-fiction. And I really welcome people making contact via email so that we can have a bit of a conversation about what your interests are, and I can make sure that we can satisfy those interests, and that any questions you have about applying can be answered. So I've covered the key elements now, I think, and I really would welcome some questions from you if you are now ready. So just waiting for some questions to come through. Lauren has this question: does the research thesis include research training to help students without... that question's not finished, so I will just talk about those research units. So what they do is enable a student who would like to develop their critical writing and research skills to write a 20,000 word thesis, which prepares them, if they so wish, for a PhD pathway. So in the research thesis units, the first unit is research preparation, which is about how to start thinking about a thesis, how to frame the question, how to do your preliminary research and literature review. And then the second unit is the actual writing of the thesis itself, where you'll be writing your thesis with a supervisor. So what we sometimes do in the masters is a student might complement the research thesis with, of course, the creative writing units. So they're developing their creative writing at the same time as developing their research writing skills. And that prepares them very well for a creative writing PhD, if they wish to go on to that, or what's also known as a non-traditional PhD here at Macquarie or at another university. Other students are very keen to go on to the manuscript project, and that's a project where you write a 25,000 word manuscript, or often it's the beginning of a longer manuscript. It's a unit that not everybody can do. It's a supervised unit, so students need to have gone through the program, done at least 16 credit points. It's at least 4 units, and we really look at each application individually, looking at the project that the person wants to work on, looking at how they've been travelling in the program so far, looking at how publishable we think the work is potentially, and so we assess each of the manuscript project applications individually, and of course we have conversations with students about that as they go along. I'm just going to actually have a look now at the next question. How is content delivered online to students via video, discussion boards, etc.? So Macquarie uses a platform called Moodle. In the university we call it iLearn. It is a fantastic platform for online students. It's really easy to use. And so for the Masters and Graduate Diploma students, what we're doing each week, you'll be meeting online, not in live classrooms, so you can meet online in your own time. And yes, you're involved. You'll be in groups, so you'll be in a workshop group and a discussion group. Depending on how many students are enrolling at any one time, say if we have a big enrolment, sometimes we might have sort of 20 or 30 people. That's too big for a sense of having a coherent workshop. So what I'll do, or the other teachers will do, is group you into, say, groups of 8 to 10 people, and often in interest groups. So if we sort of see that we've got a whole bunch of fantasy writers or a whole bunch of poets, we would obviously gather them together. But, there's no hard and fast rules about that. And so over the period of the session, you're in the discussion group doing the readings and discussing things, led, of course, by your teacher, and responding to the lectures and so on. And in the writing workshops, there'll be a schedule so that everybody knows when they're going to be workshopping their material, and all the students respond on a weekly basis. So in terms of your creative writing, it's a really great way to get written feedback to that writing. And the communities that form online, they work very, very well. It's a very high level of engagement, and I'm frequently blown away by just how excellent the discussions are. Sam has a question: do you run events or public seminars so that I can meet staff and understand more? Sorry, I just aren't seeing the whole question in the text, so I'm kind of guessing a little bit of the end of the question. We have open day every year. We also have an information day. We also have the postgraduate forums for Sydney-based students. If they're really dead keen, you can always come in and meet us on a one-on-one basis, or talk to us over the phone, and so on. We also have some public events. For instance, we're involved with Sydney Writers Festival. This year we had the Emerging Writers Festival come to Macquarie, and so we have events like that. And please email me, Sam, and we can see what would suit you best. So that was a great question, and please keep them coming. And certainly next year, the Sydney Writers Festival, we're planning now what we'd like to do. And some of the things that we're we're thinking on is building on the visiting writers that we had this year. So we had 3 visiting writers. I particularly wanted to have writers for the Writing Young Adult Fiction unit. So we had Jacqueline Moriarty, who is a young adult writer who's very well known for her Colour of White series. She's also the sister of Leanne Moriarty and Nicola Moriarty, who both studied at Macquarie in our writing program. We had Helen Shabat, who is a first-time author with her novel Bro, which is set in the western suburbs, and also Felicity Castagna, who won the Premier's Prime Minister's Literature Award in 2014. So they were 3 wonderful writers that the students had access to online and in person, which was really a very special series of weeks. Kate's question is, what have past students gone on to do? Any success stories? Yes, we've had a sort of range of interesting, like it is quite a distinct range of success stories. So one of our international students, or a few of our international students actually, have gone back to their home countries, including India, Norway and America. And one of our students, Tara, went on to publish her young adult fiction with, well, actually by the time she published it, Disney Hyperion, who have published it, decided it would work better as more of a junior fiction. So she's published there. We've got quite a few people working in television and film, both as directors and as writers. Elizabeth Clare Alberts, who's a young adult fiction writer but also an environmental writer, is doing all sorts of journalism. Another of our students has gone on to really focus on developing her career as an editor. Marilyn Mullane has published Once Upon a Road with Random House. So yeah, various people have gone on to do all sorts of things, and I like people to keep in touch, which they do. Unfortunately, we can't get all their stories onto the Macquarie website, but we do have quite a few stories there for you. And again, I certainly welcome an email and can answer in more detail that way. Okay, well, I think we've covered those questions that you had. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending the webinar. And what we'd really appreciate now is if you could answer a few questions from the questionnaire that you can see there. And I really, really encourage you to make direct contact. Email me. My email number is on that final page. That's, in fact, I would probably be getting emails every few days from people interested in the program, and we really do welcome that. So thank you, and I hope to speak to you soon.